Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. It is my honour and my pleasure to be joined once again by Magnus Samuelsson, 1998 World's Strongest Man, strength legend, former European arm wrestling champion. Great to have you back on, Mag. And in the first show, mate, you were just getting to the bit that a lot of people are so interested to hear. Our arm wrestling fans are going to be so interested to hear this. You've gone to the Bahamas after your first invite to World's Strongest Man, which came after a win in Sweden's Strongest Man. You won the arm over arm, your first ever strength competition at that level, and then talk about gift horse. Event number 2 was arm wrestling, mate. Tell us about that.
Well, I guess first of all, hi again, guys. I thought the arm wrestling was brought in just to give me something that they know I'm not going to make a total fool out of myself in. But I was blessed.
So were they aware of that? Were they aware of your sort of background, sort of prior to when you had your original conversation with the lady from the office?
Back then I don't know how they do it nowadays. But back then, when you got your invitation for the World's Strongest Man, they never gave out the events. Okay. So you will first get like a paper saying, will you participate during these terms, and then after that. Later on, you will have another envelope with the events. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the most interesting letter to open on the whole year to see if you're going to have an easy run or a hard one in the qualifying.
An interesting counterpoint here, mate. At that time, when just before that tournament took place, I got a call again from an office in London asking me about arm wrestling, and I ended up speaking to Jamie Reeves.
Oh yeah, very well.
I ended up speaking to Jamie Reeves as well at some point. I can't remember how Jamie and I got in contact. I think they gave me his number, and I ended up ringing him. And they said, "Look, we need some advice about arm wrestling. We're gonna put arm wrestling into World's Strongest Man. We've had it before, and we're gonna put it in there." And I offered my services. I said, "Look, I'll come out and referee it and train the guys a little bit." And they were reluctant to do that. They said, "No, it's only going to be one event, and we can't afford to do that," and so on. And I said, well, the biggest problem you've got is when you do this with guys who are completely inexperienced and you don't have the right equipment, you leave it open to injury. Just a little side note for you there, Mag, but that happened. But sorry, carry on where you were going, mate, with that one.
No. So I mean, we back then the qualifying was, if I don't misremember, done in 2 days. So the first day were first arm over arm, and then in the afternoon. It was the arm wrestling contest inside on the square of Nassau, Bahamas, and I was supposed to go. I was supposed to go against the winner in the arm of the. I won the arm over arm. I was supposed to go against the guy who came second, called Nathan Jones. Yeah. So,
and for people who don't know Nathan has gone on to big things again, hasn't he? I mean, first of all, he was in Troy at the beginning of the film Troy. Yeah, he's the guy that the giant that comes out of the crowd that they put against Achilles in sort of the opening scene from Troy. And Nathan Jones, they called him MEGAMAN at the time, and he really is. He's some physical spec, isn't he?
He's a big guy, and for me as well, you have to remember, I'm pretty much been on a farm my whole up racing. I never really met any big guys, so for me, just the experience to go. I mean, me and my wife, we came into the reception in the Hotel Atlantis, Bahamas, and the very first guy we saw was Joe Onasai standing there weighing like 200 kilos, talking to a guy called Heinz Zollers from Germany, weighed like 160 back in the day. And my wife's eyes went like this big, and probably mine as well. Never seen anything like it. So for me, this is kind of an overwhelming experience, the whole thing, just to be around these guys. And a lot of these people were also heroes from my, Magnus Samuelsson and, Vico Kiri and people that I read about for probably 10 years before I saw them the first time. Anyway, so when we came to the arm wrestling fight, I had to go against Nathan Jones. And I was thinking, this is, at least I know how to do this. And saying that, I didn't know what to expect, how strong these guys really were. And everybody that's done arm wrestling, doesn't really matter how strong you are in 90% of the physique. If you have weaknesses in your forearm grip, and especially in the wrist, it's going to be a problem. So if I arm wrestle a guy that I don't really know anything about, back then at least, I will always grab him kind of near pro, so I don't show away which way I'm trying to go. And then I don't take any back pressure really, but I lift straight up like this, just a little bit straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And normally before they go, we all go a slide too soon, just a little bit straight back, just to see if it is any giveaway from the other guy.
Yep.
It's many times if you do that hard, you can tell if it's the real thing. If they have, because if that doesn't work, back to the hook plan.
Yep.
So just before the start, I started to pull back, and to my big surprise, I felt immediately his wrist was giving away. So I was thinking, I'm just going to stay high and just going to pull up. So when the start went, I pulled up and I didn't do much. I just held him like that, and he kind of opened up himself by doing what, to be honest, people that don't arm wrestle a lot usually do.
Yeah, just drove sideways.
Yeah, take away sideways and then leave everything behind. So I just hold him, and I just keep smiling inside as I can't believe this. This is the perfect thing for me to happen. And then I took him down, and pleased with that. He goes kind of berserk behind the camera. He goes like really upset that was allowed, and he were he's not the calmest guy I've ever met. So it takes a bit of time. Then he calmed him down again, and we're going to go a second turn. And the second.
So he was really upset by that, was he? Off the because
he was kind
on
of
the TV show. You only see a little glimpse of that.
I think he had that kind of attitude a little bit, to be honest, back then when he was young, and also I think he felt a bit embarrassed. This skinny kid comes up and he beats him,
I think he'd said that was the event he was most looking forward to at the beginning. I know on the English version of the show, they were sort of interviewing you guys, and they went around to Nathan and they said, "Oh, is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, the arm wrestling. I'm really good at arm wrestling. Nobody beats me at arm wrestling. I can't wait for the arm wrestling." So, I mean, Jesus, irony.
So I was very happy. I won the first event. I won the first fight in arm wrestling event as well. So I was thinking, this is good. And I knew that it's going to be, because he came in breathing fire to the second fight. And I knew that he's not going to think anything right now. We're just going to go sideways, even worse than before. So I did this exact same thing. I just held him, and without being big-headed, I'm pretty all right to hold people like that.
Sure.
So I just do the same thing, and when he takes away, nothing really moves more than that his wrist gives away, and the more he pulls himself away, the more I just lift him straight back. And then I start to go a little bit sideways. And I just remember feeling a small click first, and then bang, the arm went off. And it took me probably took me a solid second before I realized what just happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, when something like that happens, it's never on purpose. But on the other hand, you're so full of adrenaline. So I mean, it's a fight. So I did that, and then I just tried to, cool myself off. So I don't do anything stupid, like scream and say something. Just calm down. And then it starts to sink in that I really injured him, and went over and talked with him. And it was a really weird thing to happen, especially as a rookie coming into this big event.
Yeah.
And I just trying to, not embarrass myself. And, I ended up winning the first two events, and I was kind of couldn't really. It's one of the most unreal days in my whole life, I think.
You talked about it earlier, mate, with the old Crossroads thing. You remember the film Sliding Doors, where it's literally one of those moments, because you said that if you had turned down that call when the lady rung, you may not be the man you are today, because that wouldn't have come around again. Well, in a way, when you said if you'd gone there and hadn't done well, it wouldn't have come back again. It was sort of like a perfect storm of opportunity. The fact that the arm wrestling happened, and the fact that you broke Nathan's arm. It was so. I mean, to this day, it's remember when we were doing the Hall of Fame thing, and it was showing the greatest moments in strongman history. It's always there, isn't it? You know what I mean? In the 40 Years of Pain thing, the documentary, it's always there, because it's such an iconic wow moment, like when Franco Colombo broke his leg doing the. It's one of those. It's like that. Wow.
For me, I mean, to be honest, it was a big game changer. I think it's hard to say, but I agree with you. I don't think my life would have been the same without it, to be honest. And also for myself, up till this point, strength training was something I was thinking about during working. You know, it was my kind of escape bubble. So when life went boring, I can always mentally escape into that bubble where I was thinking about training. But I had no really idea what to do with it. It was just a hobby.
Yeah.
And that evening after the first day of the World's Strongest Man, I got a lot of attention, and I started slowly to realize that this could be my opportunity in life to do, first of all, the thing I really love. You know, I can spend 100% time on just strength training and competing.
Yeah.
And for the first time ever in my life, I knew exactly what I was training for. You know, like from now on, it was not, before it was just, let's train a bit and try to get strong, but we don't really know why. And I compete in arm wrestling, I enjoy that. But now it all came very obvious. This is exactly what I need to adapt to. So, I mean, after that, we competed for another 2. We went through the qualifying. I won the third event. I made it to the final. And in the final, it went fairly good. I was super happy about it. But to be honest, I was strong from the belt up. And I lost tons of points in, squats and stuff like that. I remember, even walking with farmer's walk. Back then, my grip was so solid, so I can stand and hold the weights all day long if needed. The problem were I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
So it was pretty obvious what I needed to do my homework on. So I went home, got myself a proper gym. But up to this point, it was all about with homemade weights and like simple stuff.
Yep.
But I was still benching pretty good numbers, and I was surprisingly strong in the things I was strong in. And
it's interesting, that, isn't it? Because you're such a tall guy. I mean, you're such a tall guy, Mag, and yet you're a hell of a presser. You don't get many really solid benches at your side, your sort of physical stats. They tend to be, if you look at, Eddie, if you look at Graham Hicks, Julius Maddox, or, Mendy, all your top benchers. We have a kid that competes in arm wrestling now, Eric Spotto, that obviously set the raw bench record. It's a very different physical spectrum to the one you're operating in. You're that long rangey guy.
Yeah, and it's true, and I have no explanation why it was like that. I can't really say. I did 200 in bench when I was 19 on homemade bench and home welded weights. So I don't really know how that became, and I think it has to do with I was fairly all right in the chest, but I was really strong in the arms. So it was all tricep, I think.
That's unbelievable.
If I miss the bench, always just grip the tight, narrow next attempt, and it will usually come up.
Gee, what weight were you when you were 19 when you benched the 200?
I don't know, really. Maybe I would say just a touch over 100 kilos.
Wow, that's mega, mate. That's a hell of a. That's mega. At that age and that.
I know I did. I know I did some kind of but I've never been on a bench meet before. So now we're talking gym weights. It's nothing super strict, and so I'm not claiming anything whatsoever. But I went to junior nationals for raw bench. Never done a pause or anything before that. And I won the class, but I only did I can't really remember. Well, I think I did 180 or 185 or something like that. But that was because I never played with it. And then I started to really target bench meets, but it never happened. Strongman came in the way, and all of a sudden I was living a different life.
Yeah.
And then I had a period, later on when I started, like I said, when I came home, I looked at myself in my training routine and how I was living, and I was thinking, how can I achieve this? What do I need to do differently? And I was thinking, I need my idea how to gain weight, body weight, were to give the body the message how to get that, you know, you need to get stronger, but not ruin so much muscle tissue in the process. I don't think you as a healthy human being can train for 2.5 hours super heavy and expect yourself to gain anything in body weight. Maybe in a short time, but not for any length of time. So what I tried to do, I tried to make very heavy and short workouts twice a day, and I speed it up. So I had pretty much 10 days between each chest workout, for example. And all of a sudden, the body weight just went up very fast. So the first year I came, the first World's Strongest Man we talk about was back in '95.
Yep.
And the summer of '96, I spent, let me think, the summer of '96, I spent a lot of time in Scotland together with Douglas Edmonds and Forbes Cowan and these guys. Sure. And doing the Highland Games every second weekend, and then I did Strongman the other half. And in the end of it, I started to win competitions, and I won the Glasgow Open. I came second in the World Muscle Power, and this, progress curve was pretty good.
Yeah.
Then we did one last contest before I went home, and then I was supposed to rest for 10 days, and then we were supposed to go to the World's Strongest Man. I think was held in Mauritius that year.
Yep.
And the very last day in Scotland, I messed my back up so bad in a wheelbarrow contest. And I was absolutely not supposed to go to the World's Strongest Man that year because of that. The only problem, the reason why I did it anyway, were me and Christine got married the week before Mauritius. And Mauritius we were supposed to stay on as a honeymoon. So I was thinking, shit, I had to go anyway. I just had to, you just have to work somehow. But I couldn't. I had a hard time just standing by myself at that contest. Yeah. Went home again, trained for another year, and during that year of '97, all the big pieces started to fall together, and we did better and better. Won a number of competitions and came to the World's Strongest Man, just like everybody else. I think, apart from the old timers that have been around, that they go to win the title.
Yeah.
But everyone else, I think this is for arm wrestling, for tracking fields, whatever.
Yep.
To reach the final is the goal. That's what everybody's looking for. Which means it's always a bitch to qualify. On the start line of the final, I think in most events, you will only have 2 or 3 people in that actually stand on the lineup to win the final.
Sure.
The other guys are just mentally making high five on themselves, thinking I'm in the Olympic final or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're not going to win anything. So the hardest part is always to qualify. So when I went to World's Strongest Man in Las Vegas, my goal was just to qualify. It was the only thing we talked about, and everything on top of that would just be bonus. And I still wasn't strong enough in my overhead and my squats. But to my big surprise, I cruised through the qualifying, and I won. It was 8 events, I think, that year, and I won 3 or 4 in the final. And I was second in a few, and then I dropped tremendously in squat and deadlift. And I ended up 3rd.
Which is mega.
For me, that was, at the time, of course, I thought this is as good as it's ever going to get. This is phenomenal, like 3rd in World's Strongest Man. Went home, and then during that winter, the body kind of became solid. 98 was a great year. I won a lot of competitions, and I was feeling great. And I spent more and more time together with Jamie Reeves. So I trained with Jamie in Sheffield just before the World's Strongest Man, and Jamie and his brother Jockey Reeves helped me a lot in many ways. I think strength-wise, I was already there, but mentally to hang around somebody that I was looking up to, and somebody that's been around, the friend of Jon Paul Sigmarsson and all that.
Yeah.
It gave me some kind of back strength like mental strength, that because World's Strongest Man back then was a 2-week thing. You need to really honestly believe that you can win it. Otherwise, you probably everybody's feeling crap the last 4 or 5 days. So that meant a lot to me. So I trained in Sheffield. I went home, rested 1 week. We went to World's Strongest Man in Morocco, and it just went cruised through the qualifying. I was pretty sick before the final started, and so I had problem with the flu. So the first day in the final, I was kind of suffering a bit. That's why I had a big collapse after the truck pull, I remember. And then after that, it just went so unreal. Everything went kind of unreally, so much better than I expected. Won the World's Strongest Man, and that was another game changer, because up till that point, where they called me a pro, but after that, I was 100% living on strength. I didn't do anything else. I was just competing, making things for companies and shows and stuff like that. And I was blessed enough to get a really good sponsor in the company of Valmet Farm Tractors. And I think even though I won the World's Strongest Man back in '98, I was way, way better the next coming 4 or 5 years. And on the tour, everything went really well. I always I don't know how I did it, but I always messed up the World's Strongest Man. In 2001, if you ask me, that was the year I probably should have won. That's the only one I kind of blame.
And you were second that year, weren't you? I think. Yeah. There
were one event in that competition called the arm over arm, but they had it in a machine. If I had to pick one event out of all events, that's my pick one.
The banker. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the arm over arm pull. During a 14-year career, the worst I ever got in it was second once. Otherwise, I won it all the other times. Apart from this time when I was third last, because it didn't work properly, and that kind of annoyed me a bit.
I can imagine it did, mate. My God.
But that's like back then. I was, really upset with it, and now looking back, I don't even. It wouldn't have changed anything if I would have won it once or twice or 3 times. I'm really blessed I won it once, but everything that Strongman gave me in total, and the lifestyle and all the opportunities that came with it, it wouldn't have changed much, to be honest.
So, you being the kind of bloke you are, mate, and I know it's not just for the sort of episode. I know you like this because I spend time talking to you when we go to the Giants gigs and so on, and from all the time I've spent with you, you're a very, very modest lad anyway, Mag. But you glossed over the fact that you became World's Strongest Man. But how did that feel, mate? When you won that title in '98 and you could finally call yourself World's Strongest Man, that must have been quite a. How long did it take that to sink in?
That's a good question, and the honest answer is it takes a long time. First off, when it really happens, it's a bit like unreal. You can't really. It's a bit like a dream, You can't really touch it, and then you have a short period where it actually feels a bit empty. You have this dream that is untouchable, the thing that you honestly deep inside your heart don't think you're gonna reach, and you've been thinking about this and training, and I mean everybody that done training flat out, they know it's always nice looking back on it, but when you're in the middle of it, you actually training till you see the breakfast the second time, and you're pushing your body as hard as you can from all directions, day after day after day after day. And have this as a motivator the whole time. This is the thing you're chasing. So it's a bit of a weird feeling when, okay, so now what? What's next? But apart from that, it's a gift and a privilege to achieve something like that. I can't really put words on it, but it's a very special thing to really reach the ultimate goal in whatever you're chasing.
What was the effect, sort of, on your family or on your close friends. They must have been immensely proud.
Well,
And because Christine's obviously, people may not know, but she was herself a strong woman. You know, she was into the female sport. So you were surrounded. Torbjörn obviously was into the arm wrestling with yourself, into strongman. It must have been like this wow moment for them, you know, where they were like, "Holy, Mag's the world's strongest man."
It was. I mean, in many ways, it was a golden time, and I also would like to point out. Well, yeah, I was the guy on the podium, and I got a lot of applause and stuff for that. But it was not my effort alone by any means. It were thanks to my family and my wife and my mates and the whole team behind me that made everything possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's within the team we had a really, it was a team effort, and the whole team was we all celebrated for a long time about this. I think everybody that really gets, there is always the odd one that makes everything by themselves and live by themselves and all that. But honestly, I think most guys that do well, they know that they have a whole bunch of people and companies and people that trust them. And for me, that was also a big motivator. If I go into an event, it's so easy when you get there to blame things, to start to say that, he is looking really good today, and that guy, his father has built that machine, and you always try to find an excuse, an scapegoat for yourself to say, well, I wasn't bad today, or it was the universe that was against me, which is, I just did that 5 minutes ago, and I take it all back. but I mean, it's a bit of truth to it, because as soon as you start to do that, as soon as you start to open the door for an excuse to failure, you're going to fail. And for me as a motivator, I always went like out jogging first before the contest started, and I had this mental routine I did where I maybe you start with Lord in heaven and all those stuff, but then I start to put in everything that means a lot to me, and all the people that trust me, all the sponsors that invested time in me, all the trust that's been given to me, and all the privileges that have been given to me to do this well. And what a pussy I would be if I don't do it as well as I know that I can do right now. If I don't deliver right now, I don't deserve all these privileges that I get handed to by people. That's always were my motivator. I'm not so attracted to winning as I am detested to losing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so that hate, that lacking the acceptance of allowing yourself to lose.
Yeah. And I think a lot of athletes, you see, I did everything I could, but inside, no, you didn't. You could always have done a touch more. But once in a while, when you honestly can say to yourself that this was it, I did everything I could, then I have no problem with losing at all. But every once in a while when I lose, and I realize deep inside, I know that I could have done that a touch better. And, that can take me months to get out of the system.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this second part, but don't worry. We will be back with more in part 3 from Mag. Remember, if you like what you see, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, let everybody know. And please come back for part 3. We're going to have a link to part 1 in the description, and we'll see you back with Mag soon.
See you guys.